Gracie, and Elise with JSO. Come to our event on Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. in the Upper Common. Woo! It's the night with AJ and Kyle. Yeah. See y'all there.
Okay, so this is a mic night, right? Is this Christmas music only? Hello? Does anybody want to tell me, is this Christmas music only? There was some contenders at church yesterday for singing All I Want for Christmas Is You, just saying. All right, for those of you who participated in our Croom in the Room competition, we have a winner. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for participating. We hope you were able to find him at least one day. We actually had multiple people this year who submitted every single day. So it came down to who was the first person to get every single submission in first. So thankfully this person is here today. Can I get a drum roll, please? Yeah. All right. Our winner for 2025 Croom in the Room is Caroline. Thank you all for participating. We were so excited that you did it. But I am now going to hand it off to Aubrey and Ginny for our Student Service Award.
Good morning, everyone. How are we doing? Doing good? Okay. Are we ready for finals? No. Well, they're coming whether you're ready or not, so sorry. Oh. It's Ginny's birthday today. So we'll spare her singing happy birthday, but because she does not, she said not really. But say happy birthday to her on the way out because she really, yeah, she does a lot for students and well, if you don't know me, my name is Aubrey Flickema. I am the Assistant Vice President of Student Life and Leadership here at Judson, and one of the really exciting things that I get to do every semester is present the Student Service Award. So we present that in one of the last chapels of the year, and I'll tell you a little bit about the award. The Student Service Award is presented to the graduating senior who has best exemplified sincerity and dedication to Christ, achievement in academic pursuit, and promotion of Judson University ideals. Each of our two nominees this semester have exemplified leadership through service during their time at Judson University. Their impact on the kingdom of God and on our community here at Judson will be felt long after they are gone. These folks will be missed, but we trust that they, like the students before them, have raised up leaders to serve and lead this campus next year. I will read the list of nominees in alphabetical order, and I'll let you cheer after each one because I think you know both of them well. They are Michaela McTighe and Gordon Thompson. This year's winner of the Fall 2025 Student Service Award is Michaela McTighe. Michaela, please come to up to the stage to receive your award. In the meantime, I will share some brief highlights of Michaela's career here at Judson. Mickey, which is what most of you know her by, a Christian ministries major, has served in several key leadership roles during her time at Judson. While keeping academics a priority, shown by her impressive GPA and commitment to scholarship, Mickey has served for the entirety of her time at Judson as a Rozier Scholar, where she participated in educational and formational experiences to strengthen her leadership. For all her time at Judson, Mickey has been highly invested in enhancing the student experience here at Judson through her involvement in residence life, serving as a RA in Ohio Hall. Ohio, give some noise. During her sophomore and junior year, as a Bible study leader on campus, on university ministries as the chapel admin, on the Spirit Squad as the spiritual advisor, and in choir as a singer, clarinet player, and serving as a choir officer during her junior and senior year. So she's been busy. How will you fill your time after you graduate? She needs new hobbies, she says. In addition to her time serving on campus, Mickey has been active in her community, specifically in the local church. She's served as a youth group leader at Christ Community Church in Streamwood, and now she serves at Chapel Street Church in Geneva, working with the high school ministry. Mickey, you have made a lasting impact on our community and spiritual life here at Judson and beyond. You embody the character, passion, and leadership that we hope for every student, Judson student, and it's an honor to present this award to you. Judson, please join me in congratulating your Fall 2025 Student Service Award recipient. Thank you, Judson.
Next year, I want some kind of introduction, all right? We just get all the student service awards, we get some nonsense and some carol singing. I walk up here without any fanfare, nothing.
Judson University, please welcome Dr. Warren Anderson for Storytime with Dr. Anderson.
Here we are again. Let me do the first part without any music, please. Thank you. Because I'm going to introduce you properly. If you're new to this community, my name is Warren Anderson. I have the privilege of being the director of the DeMoss Center for Worship in the Performing Arts, housed in Thompson Hall, right over there. And for some reason, they keep bringing me back. At this time every year. I try to get out of this gig every year. I beg, I bribe, and nothing happens. And here we are again. So what we do is we try to send you off. We know you're stressed. We know you got exams, projects, oral presentations, papers, all kinds of things, maybe 75% of which you're going to accomplish. And so we want to send you out with a tiny bit of Christmas hope and joy and cheer and peace and love. I think I've got the Advent candle covered there. And so we do this. If this is your first chapel, if you're visiting, I know there's at least one person here because I'm going to have your clarinet audition in about an hour. Please know that this is not the norm, okay? We do this once a year, and then we get back to the regularly scheduled programming, all right? So what they asked me to do, perhaps because I ran chapel for 20 plus years and kind of familiar with the gig, they asked me to read some things to you as if you were children. So we want you to take all the stress of adolescence and post-adolescence and just let it melt off of you onto the floor in a puddle, right? We want to have Shopvac have to come in here and figure this out because all the stress is just, everybody breathe in with me, nice. Yes, and we want you just to relax and enjoy this traditional Christmas. So we have the traditional Christmas fire, yes? We have the traditional Christmas apple cider. Toasty. We have the traditional Christmas ornaments, such as they are. We have the traditional Christmas Bing Crosby on the stereo here. Actually, that's not Bing. That's Pietro Manconio. who is here to tinkle the ivories, as it were. And I'm so glad that the first kids book that Tim asked me to read to you is Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. Yes. So there's an inscription at the beginning. So let me read the inscription to you. You can read it along with us on the next page. It says, can you read that? That's a little hard to read, isn't it? That's all right. It says, Marley was dead. Now this is going to be important in the story. Hang on with me here. Marley was dead. There was no doubt whatever that old Marley was dead as a doornail. Marley was as dead as the Chicago Bears usually are this time of year. So Merry Christmas, Bears fans. They're actually playing. Normally this time of year, you're saying, when's spring training, right? But here we are. This must be distinctly understood, or nothing wonderful can come of the story of Ebenezer Scrooge. Next page, and this is important. I got to set some context here, okay? So Charles Dickens. Charles Dickens was a 19th century British writer. So he wrote in the 1800s, right? You know what that means, right? Century, you got to go back one, right? We're in the 21st century, but it's 2020. You're with me? Yeah? So he wrote in the 1800s. Now, he was primarily a novelist. The ones you might have heard of: David Copperfield, Oliver Twist, and my all-time favorite, Great Expectations. So long before A Christmas Carol was a children's story, or a kid's book, or a play staged annually at Christmas, it was a short novel. All right? Now let me explain. I know that there are some of you whose expressed desire as students at Judson University is to walk across this stage in 4 or 5 or 6 years and shake Dr. Kroom's hand, having never once opened a textbook. I get that. And from the quiz grades on some of the classes that I have, some of you are well on your way. Keep that streak intact, friends. But for context, a novel is like a really, 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 really long TikTok, okay? In fact, a novel is like a whole mess of TikToks pulled together. And it will take you a long time to watch all the TikToks that show up in a regular novel, okay? So just for context. All right, so this is a very, very short version of what is already a very, very short novel, A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. Next page, here we go. Once upon a time, of all the good days in the year, on Christmas Eve, old Scrooge was at work in his counting house when his nephew Fred came in. "A Merry Christmas, Uncle!" "Bah!" said Scrooge. "Humbug!" He was a scraping old sinner, Scrooge was, hard and sharp as flint. "If I could work my will," he continued, "every idiot who goes about with Merry Christmas on his lips would be boiled and buried with a stake of holly." "Uncle," pleaded Fred, "you don't mean that. Come dine with us tomorrow." "Humbug," said Scrooge. And he waved his nephew out the door. At day's end, Scrooge's clerk, Bob Cratchit, snuffed the candle out and put on his hat to go. "You'll want all day off tomorrow, I suppose," Scrooge grumbled. "Christmas, a poor excuse for picking a man's pocket every 25th of December." Scrooge walked out after him with a growl. When Scrooge arrived home, however, something strange happened. As he put his key in the lock, he saw in the knocker, not a knocker, but the face of his dead partner, Jacob Marley. "Humbug," said Scrooge. All at once it was a knocker again. Quite satisfied, he closed the door and locked himself in. Scrooge had dressed for bed and settled in before the fire, right? Everybody warm your hands by the fire. Very good. When he was startled, there you go, by a clanking noise, as if someone were dragging a heavy chain in the cellar. Got some chain music? Yeah, there you go. Then he heard the noise much louder on the floors below. Then coming up the stairs, then coming closer still, a figure came on through the heavy door. "Who are you?" trembled Scrooge. "Ask me who I was." "Who were you then?" "In life, I was your partner, Jacob Marley." "Humbug! I tell you, humbug!" At this, the spirit raised a frightful cry. "Hear me!" bellowed the ghost. "I wear the chains of greed I forged in life. I am here to warn you that you have yet a chance and hope of escaping my fate. You will be haunted tonight by 3 spirits: gold, frankincense, and myrrh." Sorry, wrong book. "I think I'd rather not," said Scrooge. "Without their visits," said the ghost, "you cannot hope to shun the path I tread. Expect the first when the bell tolls 1. Then the ghost floated out upon the bleak, dark night. Scrooge certainly could not sleep now. He had no choice but to wait upon the tolling of the hour. Ding dong, merrily on high. "A quarter past," said Scrooge, counting. Ding dong bell. "Half past," said Scrooge. Ding dong, the witch is dead. "A quarter to it," said Scrooge. Ding dong, the hour itself, said Scrooge. The bell sounded down in the bass clef now. The bell sounded with a deep, dull, hollow. Give me that ham-fisted stuff down the octave there. Yeah, melancholy 1. Light flashed up in the room, and the curtains of his bed were drawn. You see, the curtains were drawn by a hand. Oh, I like that. Very nice. "Who and what are you?" Scrooge demanded. "I am the ghost of Christmas past." "Long past?" "No, your past." It clasped him gently. "Rise and walk with me." Scrooge was helpless as together they passed through the wall. Scrooge saw that they now stood upon an open country road. The city had entirely vanished. "I know this place," he gasped. "I was a boy here." A group of boys in great spirits came along the road, and Scrooge called out to them. Then the ghost held up a hand. "These are but the shadows of the things that have been," it said. "They cannot see or hear anything of us." The boys came on, and Scrooge knew every one. Why did his heart leap as they passed? Why was he filled with gladness when he heard them shout Merry Christmas? What was Merry Christmas to Scrooge? What good had it ever done him? "The school is not quite deserted," said the ghost. "They entered a bare room made barer still by the lines of desks. At one of these a lonely boy sat reading." Scrooge crept closer, and a weight fell upon his heart. "Could it be?" he whispered. "Yes," said the spirit. The boy was Scrooge himself so many years before. "He has no place to go this Christmas," remembered Scrooge as a tear came to his eye. The ghost smiled thoughtfully. "Let us see another Christmas." They were now in the busy thoroughness of a city. The ghost stopped. Give me some busyness over there, Pietro. The ghost stopped of a certain warehouse door and asked Scrooge if he knew it. "Was I apprenticed here?" marveled Scrooge. They went in. At sight was an old gentleman. Scrooge cried, "Why, it's old Fezziwig, alive again!" Fezziwig called out in a rich voice, "Yo-ho there, Ebenezer!" Scrooge's former self, now grown a young man, came briskly in. "No more work tonight," said Fezziwig. "It's Christmas Eve." In no time, the warehouse was converted to as bright a ballroom as you would desire to see upon a winter's night. Guests arrived, and among them a fair young girl who took the hand of young Ebenezer Scrooge. There were dances, and there was cake, and there was a great piece of cold roast. Scrooge's heart and soul were in all of this. He remembered everything, enjoyed everything. When the cheerful voices died away, he was sad to hear them go. Hers, most of all, among them. Let me have a big love lost, right? Yeah, it's very sad, very sad. Scrooge hung his head, conscious of being exhausted, and further of being in his own bedroom. The ghost had vanished. Scrooge barely had time to fall into bed before he sank into a sleep as heavy as his heart. Waking up in the middle of a snore, Scrooge did not need to be told that the bell was again upon the stroke of the hour. A strange voice called his name. "Know me better, man," exclaimed the ghost. "I am the ghost of Christmas Present. You have never seen the like of me before." "Never," Scrooge made answer. "Touch my robe." Scrooge did as he was told and held it fast. They stood in the city streets on Christmas morning. The people who were shoveling away on the housetops were full of glee, calling out to one another and exchanging snowballs. The ghost led Scrooge straight to his clerk, Bob Cratchit's house. There was nothing of high mark in the Cratchit's Christmas dinner. They were a poor family, and Tiny Tim could not walk without his crutch. But they were happy, grateful, pleased with one another, and contented with the time. Bob Cratchit said he didn't believe there was ever such a tender goose as the one his wife had cooked, and his voice trembled when he said that Tiny Tim was growing strong and hearty. Then Bob proposed, "A Merry Christmas to all of us, my dears. God bless us." "God bless us, everyone," said Tiny Tim, the last of all. "Spirit," said Scrooge, "tell me if Tiny Tim will live." "I see an empty seat," replied the ghost, "and a crutch without an owner." "No, no," said Scrooge. "Oh, no, kind spirit. Say he will be spared." But the ghost did not respond. It was a great surprise to hear a hearty laugh at that moment. It was an even greater surprise for Scrooge to recognize it as his nephew's and to find himself in the living room. "He said that Christmas was a humbug," cried Scrooge's nephew. "He's a comical old fellow." "I'm sure he is very rich," hinted Scrooge's niece. "What of that, my dear?" said Scrooge's nephew. "His wealth is of no use to him. He doesn't do any good with it. He doesn't make himself comfortable with it. He hasn't the satisfaction of thinking, ha ha ha, that he is ever going to give us any of it." Scrooge cast his eyes upon the ground, but he raised them speedily on hearing what his nephew spoke next. "Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to the old man wherever he is. He wouldn't take it from me, but he may have it nevertheless, Uncle Scrooge." "Uncle Scrooge," they cried. "And a Merry Christmas to you, my darlings," Scrooge responded gratefully, forgetting that his voice made no sound in their ears. Soon they began playing games, for it is good to be children sometimes, and never better at Christmas. Scrooge begged like a boy to be allowed to stay. "1 half hour, spirit, only one." But the ghost was gone. The chimes were ringing. Scrooge remembered the prediction of old Jacob Marley and beheld a solemn phantom. A lot of solemnity here now. A solemn phantom. There we go. Yes. Yeah. Draped and hooded, coming like a mist along the ground toward him. "I am in the presence of the ghost of Christmas yet to come," said Scrooge. The spirit answered not, but pointed with its hand. Although he was used to ghostly company by this time, Scrooge feared the silent shape, and he found that he could barely stand to follow it. "Will you not speak to me?" It gave him no reply. The city seemed to spring up around them. The specter gestured to a knot of businessmen. "I don't know much about it," said a fat man with a monstrous chin. "I only know he's dead." "It's likely to be a very cheap funeral, for upon my life I don't know of anybody to go to it," said another. Scrooge did not know what to make of this conversation. It could not be about the death of Jacob, his old partner, for that was past, and this ghost's province was the future. The specter led Scrooge into a low-down shop where a woman was untying a heavy bundle. "Bed curtains," said the shopkeeper. "You don't mean to say you took him down, rings and all, with him lying there dead?" "Yes, I do," replied the woman. "If he wanted to keep him after he was dead, he'd have had somebody looking after him instead of gasping out his last there alone by himself. Ha 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 ha." Scrooge shuddered from head to foot. The scene had changed, and now he almost touched a bed, a bare bed, on which beneath a ragged sheet there lay, unwatched, unwept, uncared for, the body of this man. "Let us leave this fearful place," Scrooge cried. "Spectre," said Scrooge after they had gone, "tell me what man that was whom we saw lying there." The phantom phantom led him among the graves of a churchyard and pointed down to one. "Answer me one question first," said Scrooge. "Are these the shadows of the things that will be, or are they the shadows of what might be only?" Still the ghost pointed, as immovable as ever. Scrooge crept forward, trembling as he went, and read upon the neglected grave his own name, Ebenezer Scrooge. "Am I that man who lay upon the bed?" he cried. "No, spirit, oh, no, no, I am not the man I was. I will honor Christmas in my heart and keep it all the year. I will live in the past, present, and the future. The spirits of all three shall live within me. Oh, tell me I may wipe away the writing on the stone." Holding up his hands in a last prayer to have his fate reversed, Scrooge was a change in the phantom's hood and dress. It shrunk, collapsed, and dwindled down into a bedpost. Yes, and the bedpost was his own. The bed was his own. The room was his own. Best and happiest of all, the time before him was his own, to make amends in. Scrooge opened his window. "What's today?" he called down to a boy in the street. "Why, it's Christmas Day," replied the boy. "I haven't missed it," said Scrooge to himself. "My fine fellow, do you know whether they've sold the prize turkey that was hanging up in the next street?" "What, the one as big as me?" returned the boy. "Go and buy it, and I'll give you a shilling. Come back in less than 5 minutes, and I'll give you half a crown." The boy was off like a shot. That was a lot of money back then. "I'll send it to Bob Cratchit's," whispered Scrooge, rubbing his hands and splitting with a laugh. "He shan't know who sends it. It's twice the size of Tiny Tim. Ha, 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 ha." Really, for a man who had been out of practice for so many years, it was a splendid laugh. After sending off the turkey, Scrooge dressed himself all in his best, and set out for his nephew Fred's house. It is a mercy his nephew didn't shake his arm off when he arrived. Scrooge felt at home in 5 minutes. Nothing could be heartier. Wonderful party, wonderful games, wonderful happiness. Scrooge was early at his office next morning. "Hello," he pretended to growl when Bob Cratchit arrived a few minutes late. "What do you mean by coming here at this time of day?" "It's only once a year," pleaded Bob. "It shall not be repeated." "I am not going to stand this sort of thing, and therefore," Scrooge said, leaping from his stool, "give me a leap." Not much of a leap, man. This guy's life has just been rearranged completely. He's going to be a different person for the rest of the year. Give me a leap. There you go. "A Merry Christmas, Bob. A Merry Christmas that I have given you for many a year. I'll raise your salary," he continued, with an earnestness that could not be mistaken, "and do what I can to assist your struggling family." Scrooge was better than his word. He did it all and infinitely more. And to Tiny Tim, who did not die, he was a second father. He became as good a friend, as good a master, and as good a man as the good old city knew. And it was always said of him that he knew how to keep Christmas as well as anyone alive. May that truly be said of us, and all of us. And so, as Tiny Tim observed, God bless us, everyone. All right. Again, put it on pause for just a second. I got something I need to say. So I'm getting old. Year after year, I sit up here and I do my thing, and you laugh, ha ha ha, and some poor schmo has to sit here and take my abuse. Long history of people taking abuse from me sitting in this chair. And I'm doing all the heavy lifting, right? You just sit there and receive it. And I hear from you, "Oh, Dr. Anderson, that's my favorite chaplain of the year." And I hear from some of my colleagues, "Warren, that's the best. That's my favorite chapel. I never miss it." And I'm tired. So I need a little help this year, all right? So this is going to be an audience participation reading, all right? Now, the main character of this story is named Deja. French scholars, what does the word déjà translate into in English? And if it takes 10 seconds, I'll know some of you are using your phones. Who's a French scholar? Who knows what déjà, D-E-J-A, means in English? Deja vu, you know that phrase? It means it's already. So deja vu, already seen. You have an impression that you have seen something before. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't, but you have deja vu. So if you hear someone say, oh, I've got deja vu right now, that means they feel comfortable that whatever's happening on has happened before some ways. It gets a little weird, but anyway, so this character's name is Deja. And true to form, Deja will trot out this phrase to help her kind of get the spirit of Christmas and to take it in her little brain and make sense of it, okay? So there are several times in the spirit of Deja where she will say, oh, Deja said, that's what the lyrics will say, oh, Deja said, makes sense. And when you hear me say, oh, Deja said, I want you to say, makes sense, okay? We're going to try this once or twice because I know your brains are dead. So here we go. I'm picking this up from the middle. This may not be the first one that you hear. It may be. I don't know. Oh, Deja said. Makes sense. That was pretty good. One more time. Oh, Deja said. Makes sense. Good. I will feel much better now having your participation so that I'm not doing all the blessed heavy lifting on this chapel. All right. Are we on the first page there, Mr. Maestro? There we go. And this print is going to be hard to read too, so I'll do my best. All right, Pietro, and you remember our cues, yes? All right. Every year, Deja already counted down the days, hours, minutes, seconds until Christmas. But some kids at school, can you believe this? Some kids at school didn't believe in Santa like she did. If there's a Santa, how does he get into your apartment when there's no chimney, Deshaun asked. That sleigh can't fit nowhere and reindeer can't fly. And no one can live up at the North Pole, Carmen said. Face it, Deja, there is no Santa. Even if there was, he'd never visit us in the city. That night, Mommy found Deja in her room crying. What's wrong, Deja? Mommy, tell me the truth. Is there really a Santa Claus? Of course there is, baby girl. But how does Santa get inside our house if we don't have a chimney? Mommy smiled. Deja, magic always finds a way. Come, let me show you. She took Deja down to the first floor where Mr. Clark was painting the front door. She pointed to the big keychain hanging off of his tool belt. Looks like one of our Plan Ops guys, doesn't he? Santa's got a special keychain like our super Mr. Clark. In urban speak, super is short for superintendent. It's the person who does all the maintenance in the apartment. So. Santa's got a special keychain like our super Mr. Clark. His key is magic and opens up all the apartments in the entire world. Oh, Deja said. Excellent, very nice. You're doing well. Okay, but where does he park his sleigh? There's no free parking spots on our block at night, and ain't none of them big enough for 9 reindeers. Mommy laughed. He parks on the roof, just like he does at everyone else's house. She took Deja by the hand and led her up on the top floor, pointing to the roof door. See, Mommy said, Santa comes in through there. She showed Deja where Santa parked his sleigh and the old pigeon feeder Mr. Clark used to give the reindeer a snack. Oh, said Deja. Makes sense. Satisfied, Deja took the stairs down back to her apartment. As Mommy tucked her into bed and read her favorite Christmas book, Deja smiled. Deshaun and Carmen were wrong. Santa did come to their city. But the next morning, as Deja left for a day of Christmas shopping with Mommy, she couldn't help noticing how different her neighborhood looked from ones in her book. The buildings on her block didn't seem ready for Christmas. She tugged on Mommy's coat. If we can't decorate our building, how will Santa find us? The mayor puts up extra special lights all around the neighborhood, Mommy said, and we always put lights in our windows so Santa won't miss us. Oh, Deja said. But as soon as they walked into the corner bodega, another question popped into Deja's head, and then another, and another. She almost didn't hear Mr. Ortiz say her breakfast sandwich was ready. Hey, little mommy, what's on your mind? Mr. Ortiz asked. Mr. Ortiz, can reindeer really fly? See, Mommy, they're just like chickens. They can fly short distances, hopping from block to block till they reach our block. Oh, Deja said. But even later that afternoon, as Deja and Mommy finished shopping, her head was full of gestures, questions. She thought she might burst. She pointed to Santaland and said, okay, how can Santa be at King's Plaza, at Macy's, and up at the North Pole making all our presents at the same time? Well, those men are special elves representing Santa. They listen to the wishes of all the little kids around the world, then report back to the big boss, old Saint Nick. Oh, said Deja. Next. The next day was Christmas Eve, and Deja's entire family gathered at her auntie's house, where they had a big feast. She played games with her cousins and danced with her uncles like she did every year. But it was hard to enjoy herself like she used to. She still had so many questions about Santa. And luckily, there were lots of people around to ask. Uncle Ronnie, how can Santa live up at the North Pole? It's really cold up there, Deja asked. Well, Santa works in tunnels underground like the subway, where it's much warmer. Plus, he drinks plenty of hot cocoa. Oh, Deja said. What about when we visit Grandma and Grandpa in Jamaica, Mon? We're in a whole other country. How does he find us there? Oh, that's easy, her Auntie Geese, he said. Your mommy sends him a postcard to tell him where we'll all be. Oh, Deja said. Makes sense. Back at home, Deja left milk and cookies for Santa, but her head still swirled with questions. Like, where do other kids put their stockings if they don't have a fireplace? Or how does Santa make it all to all their cities in one night? Or how does he deliver presents to the wrong house? Has he ever delivered, I'll get it, hang on with me. Or has he ever delivered presents to the wrong house like the mailman sometimes does? Doesn't Santa's tummy hurt after eating all the cookies everyone leaves him, she asked Mommy. Santa doesn't eat all the cookies, Mommy said. He eats some, but has a magic sack he puts the rest in so he can share with the elves when he gets back to the North Pole. I've even packed them up for him. You mean you've met Santa? Yes, he asks grown-ups to help since he has lots of stops to make in one night. Oh, she said. That gave Deja an idea. After Mommy tucked her into bed, Deja only pretended to go to sleep because there was only one person who could answer all her questions, Santa himself. She waited until her mommy was asleep before sneaking out into the living room, but she just couldn't stay awake. She didn't hear Santa park his sleigh on the roof, or see him come down the steps, or use his magic key to open the door, or leave out the toys she asked the special elves for. But when she woke up, she found something better than any toy. A special message from Santa, just for her, letting her know once and for all, magic really does find a way. Santa was real, and he had no problem coming to her city. Makes sense. Very good. Nicely done. Thank you. And then this is always fun. When our two children were little, Mrs. Anderson and I read from a different version of this same kind of a thing. So this always brings me back to my early years as a father. Follow along the Nativity story in the Children's Kids Bible, Jesus' Storybook Bible, that's it. He's here. Everything was ready. The moment God had been waiting for was here at last. God was coming to help his people just as he promised in the beginning. But how would he come? What would he be like? What would he do? Mountains would have bowed down, seas would have roared, trees would have clapped their hands, but the earth held its breath. As silent as snow falling, he came in, and when no one was looking in the darkness, he came. There was a young girl who was engaged to a man named Joseph. Joseph was the great-great-great-great-grandson of King David. One morning, this girl was minding her own business when suddenly a great warrior of light appeared, right there in her bedroom. He was Gabriel, and he was an angel, a special messenger from heaven. When she saw the tall, shining man standing there, Mary was frightened. You don't need to be scared, Gabriel said. God is very happy with you. Mary looked around to see if perhaps he was talking to someone else. Mary, Gabriel said, and he laughed with such gladness that Mary's eyes filled with sudden tears. Mary, you're going to have a baby, a little boy. You will call him Jesus. He is God's own son. He's the one. He's the rescuer. The God who flung planets into space and kept them whirling around and around. The God who made the universe with just a word. The one who could do anything at all was making himself small and coming down as a baby. Wait, God was sending a baby to rescue the world? But it's too wonderful, Mary said, and felt her heart beating hard. How can it be true? Is anything too wonderful for God? Gabriel asked. So Mary trusted God more than what her eyes could see, and she believed. I am God's servant, she said. Whatever God said, I will do. Sure enough, it was just as the angel had said. 9 months later, Mary was almost ready to have her baby. Now, Mary and Joseph had to take a trip to Bethlehem, the town King David was from. But when they reached the little town, they found every room was full. Every bed was taken. Go away, the innkeepers told them. There isn't any place for you. Well, where would they stay? Soon Mary's baby would come. They couldn't find anywhere except an old tumble-down stable. So they stayed where the cows and the donkeys and the horses stayed. And there in the stable, among the chickens and the donkeys and the cows, in the quiet of the night, God gave the world his wonderful gift. The baby that would change the world was born, his baby son. Mary and Joseph wrapped him up to keep him warm. They made a soft bed of straw and used the animal's feeding trough as his cradle. And they gazed in wonder at God's great gift, wrapped in swaddling clothes and lying in a manger. Mary and Joseph named him Jesus, Emmanuel, which means God has come to live with us. Because, of course, he had. The light of the whole world. That same night, in amongst the stars, suddenly a bright new star appeared. Of all the stars in the dark vaulted heavens, this one shone clearer. It blazed in the night and made the other stars look pale beside it. God put it there where his baby son was born, to be like a spotlight, shining on him, lighting up the darkness, showing people the way to him. You see, God was like a new daddy. He couldn't keep the good news to himself. He'd been waiting all these long years for this moment, and now he wanted to tell everyone. So he pulled out all the stops. He'd sent an angel to tell Mary the good news. He'd put a special star in the sky to show where his boy was. And now he was going to send a big choir of angels to sing his happy song to the world. He's here. He's come. Go and see him, my little boy. Now, where would you send your splendid choir? To a big concert hall, maybe? Or a palace, perhaps? God sent his to a little hillside outside a little town in the middle of the night. He sent all those angels to sing for a raggedy old bunch of shepherds watching their sheep outside Bethlehem. In those days, remember, people used to laugh at the shepherds and say they were smelly and call them other rude names, which I can't possibly mention here. You see, people thought shepherds were nobodies, just scruffy old riffraff. But God must have thought shepherds were very important indeed, because they're the ones he chose to tell the good news to first. That night, some shepherds were out in the open fields, warming themselves by a campfire, when suddenly the sheep darted. They were frightened by something. The olive trees rustled. What was it? A wing beat? They turned around. Standing in front of them was a huge warrior of light, blazing in the darkness. Don't be afraid of me, the bright, shining man said. I haven't come to hurt you. I've come to bring you happy news for everyone everywhere. Today in David's town in Bethlehem, God's son has been born. You can go see him. He is sleeping in a manger. Behind the angel, they saw a strange, glowing cloud. Except it wasn't a cloud. It was angels. Troops and troops of angels armed with light. And they were singing a beautiful song. Glory to God be fame and honor and all hoorays. Then as quickly as they appeared, the angels left. The shepherds stamped out their fire, left their sheep, raced down the grassy hill, through the gates of Bethlehem, down in the narrow cobble streets, through a courtyard, down some steps, past an inn, round a corner, through a hedge, until at last they reached a tumble-down stable. They caught their breath. Then quietly, they tiptoed inside. They knelt on the dirt floor. They had heard about this promised child, and now he was here, heaven's son, the maker of the stars, a baby sleeping in his mother's arms. This baby would be like this bright star shining in the sky that night, a light to light up the whole world, chasing away darkness, helping people to see. And the darker the night got, the brighter the star would shine. The King of all kings. Far away in the east, 3 clever men saw the very same star, the star that God had put in the sky when Jesus was born. They knew it was a sign. A baby king had been born. Nice, I caught that. That's good. They had been waiting for this star. They knew it would come. He's here, they shouted. He's here. And I'm sure if you'd been there, you would have heard them laughing and dancing and singing until the sun came up. At dawn, they packed up their camels and wrapped gifts for the baby. They brought their most precious treasures of all, frankincense, gold, and myrrh. Special, sparkly, lovely smelling, gleaming things, just right for a king. The 3 wise men, actually, if you'd met them, you'd have thought they were kings because they were so rich and clever and important looking, set off. They rode their camels across endless deserts, up steep, steep mountains, down into deep, deep valleys, through raging rivers, over grassy plains, night and day and night for hours that turned into days, that turned into weeks, that turned into months and months until at last they reached Jerusalem. Jerusalem was by far the most important city for miles around, and as everyone can tell you, that's where a palace would be, and kings are born in palaces. So that's where they went. But they were in for a surprise. They went to see King Herod. Surely he'd know where this baby was. But he didn't. In fact, he didn't like the sound of a new king. It made him cross. He didn't want anyone to be king except him. But Herod's advisors told the 3 wise men what was written in their books. What God had said about the baby king, go to Bethlehem, that's where you'll find him. Suddenly, the star they had seen in the east started moving again, showing them the way. So the 3 wise men followed the star out of the big city, along the road, into the little town of Bethlehem. They followed the star through the streets of Bethlehem, out of the nice part of town, through the not so nice part of town, into the really not nice at all part of town, down a little dirt track until it stopped right over a little house. But wait, it wasn't a palace, and there weren't any guards, or servants, or flags, or red carpets, or trumpets, or anything. Did they get it wrong? Or was this what God meant? Sure enough, in that little house, there, sitting on his mother's knee, they found him, the baby king. The 3 men knelt before the little king. They took off their rich royal turbans and gleaming golden crowns. They bowed their noble heads to the ground and gave him their sparkling treasures. The journey that had begun so many centuries before had led 3 wise men here, to a little town, to a little house, to a little child, to the king God had promised David all those years before. But this king was a new kind of king. Though he was the Prince of Heavens, he had become poor. Though he was the mighty God, he had become helpless baby. This king hadn't come to be the boss. He had come to be a servant. Give it up for Peter, please. Again, in the spirit of my not doing all the work, let's just close. We'll just do one verse, Tim, since we're late. So one verse, I'm going to play it a little more slowly than I normally would. If you're a believer, hang on to the truths that we just read about. Don't be distracted. The enemy wants to distract you. The enemy wants you anxious about your exams. He wants you hedonistic about what you want for Christmas. He wants you to spend a lot of money you really don't need to spend. I mean, there are all kinds of things, the enemy, right? If you've been a believer a while, you know what I'm talking about. If you're not a believer, I hope you will just pause at some point in the next couple of weeks and just consider everything that you've experienced this semester at Judson. You've had godly professors, you've had godly content in chapel, you have godly friends. You're here for a reason, seeker. And I don't know what that is, except the most important of those reasons, as Hebrew tells us, to consider him. So this Christmas season, believers, would you consider him in perhaps a way that you haven't yet in your life? And seekers, consider him. peace and the joy and the love of Jesus. Amen.